Welcome back, you guys. It is Wicked Raider 22 coming for another day at the beginning stages of Raid Shadow Legends. It has been quite a few battles, quite a few campaign levels later for us. We're up to level 35, making it through pretty well. If you want to do an overview, kind of see where we are champion wise, we've had a couple of new additions, but there's something that I actually did that I did not pay attention to. I actually ended up pulling Diabolus from a recent campaign. And if you guys have not pulled this particular champion, she is one that you will actually hear quite a bit about. So, Diabolus is actually available in, let's see, my memory always avoids me. She is farmable in campaign in Brimstone Path. We actually were lucky enough to grab her during a nice little farming event in normal. A lot of times I found that the higher your difficulty level, when you go from normal to hard, brutal, and eventually to nightmare, the more likely you are to receive some of those drops, some of those miscellaneous drops. And as you can see, she's available here. You can also pull your incubus. Lemire is another one that looks pretty similar to him, but he's in yellow and drops pretty often from our green or our basic shards as well. So just that good mystery shard. So pulled her and I actually placed her into the vault because at the time I did not want to build too many champions. And so we've made it back through Godfrey's Crossing. And it came to my mind that I actually had not used Diabolus. So I had not taken the time to place a little gear on her. And before we go back in, because if you've seen the title of this video, I'm getting to a point where we're a little bit stuck. And this is going to happen to you guys. You're going to reach a point where your gameplay kind of plateaus out. And the question becomes, what do we do? So let's look at Diabolus first, and then we'll go over and kind of see if we can figure out a plan for what we should do next. Diabolus, of course, is one of our support champions. I've actually had a chance to work with this particular champion, and she comes to us with 3 skills. And for a campaign farmable, she's not bad. Not bad at all. Now, there are a few other champions in her Demon Spawn faction that are also not bad. The good thing about her being farmable is you can definitely get copies of her. So that allows you to level her up without actually applying books. I went in and used a couple of brews to get her to level 26 really quickly. Definitely want to take her to a 4-star. And at this point, we've got to make some choices. So let's see what she brings to the table. Diabolus comes to us with Torment. Attacks one enemy and has a 10% chance of placing a sleep debuff for 1 turn. Doesn't take too many books or dupes to get her to the next level, and she will apply sleep, which is okay. Electric Storm is going to be that second attack. She's going to attack all enemies, places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. And I will be honest with you guys, Electric Storm for this particular champion does not take very many books at all. It can be placed on a 3-turn cooldown. This is one of my favorite attacks for this particular champion. You can take it from a 30% to a 40% chance on that increased speed. But it's nice that her attack can definitely land quite a bit of damage, just looking at how you choose to book her out. Last but not least, Positive Charge 1 fills the turn meter of all allies by 15%. And this can be taken from 6 turns down to a 4-turn cooldown. That can definitely be helpful for you, especially when you ascended. You're going to add in that additional decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 15%. So in the early game, I've had a chance to run her almost up to level 50 in my other account, and Diabolus definitely has her spots. Now, another champion that she may remind you of, if we go over to the index under, get out of there, Demon Spawn, is Marquez, and I believe that's how you pronounce it. Here we go. Marquez is another one, and I'll be honest, If I had to pick between Diabolus and Marquez, Marquez is my favorite between the two. Comes to us with, of course, disdainful swipe. So she attacks that one enemy, has a 25% chance of placing a 25% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. And notice it doesn't take a lot of books. Attacks all enemies and has a 35% chance of placing a 15% weaken debuff for 2 turns. Deals extra damage to enemies with the weaken debuff. And then, of course, that third one, we start getting a little heavy on books here. With Freeze Solid, she's going to attack one enemy and has a 75% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. Now, when it comes to Marquez, I can definitely say Crush of the Week and also her disdainful swipe. Marquez and Diabolus can both be some pretty good damage dealers. Doesn't really seem like it. It kind of depends on how you deal with artifacts on these particular champions, but it is certainly something for you to kind of look at. Now, keep in mind, she is campaign farmable, so expectations for her are a little bit different than your other champions. But guys, look at the ratings for arena, campaign, definitely offense and defense. Spider's Den is another area. She does pretty well, not so much in Fire Knight or Force Keep. I can definitely see that, or Hydra, but across the board, it's a pretty solid champion. Now we look into recommendations. Speed is going to be the name of the game for this particular champion. So speed and a life set is what most people would kind of recommend or are the default recommendations for this particular champ. Focusing in, if we go back to those reviews, having a focus on, of course, attack, adding a little HP there, and then trying to add to that defense as well. Remember, as you move up in the game, as you go from the beginners to mid game, speed is the name of the game. So I think I went ahead and just kind of placed some of the artifacts that I had available on her, and we'll play with these a little bit. I did go in with lifesteal overall, did an enchantment, so added a glyph to her as well for speed and attack. And then I had resilience, not always my favorite, but this one does come with a bit of percentage, and that percent will help just a little bit. Definitely want to get her resistance up. Her accuracy is still pretty low for me. Her crit rate, we've managed to break that 50% mark, but you guys know crit rate and crit damage, I want to see close to 100. So as I acquire better pieces of better artifacts in general, I'll definitely come back in and play with those as well. So Diablos is one of those who we definitely wanted to go in, pull her out of the champion vault. And I placed her there because I had a good copy of her. I knew that I would see her again. You guys see, this is one of my other ones that I'm going to play with a little bit later. But in the Master Vault, I've just been trying to keep these guys put to the side, mostly because they're used as fusions. So that's the first thought. The other thought, though, out of sight, out of mind, and I should not, hopefully, have to use her as much. So if you haven't pulled this champion or had a chance to see her at work, let's kind of go in. And this is where I'm getting stuck. We are actually at Godfrey's Crossing. I have made it to stage 7 of Godfrey's Crossing. And originally I went in with, of course, our girl Deliana, we have Elhain, we have the Miscreated Monster, and then Sniper. Definitely could add in Shield Guard, and I can show you guys what's happening at the very end of this. The Miscreated Monster was actually brought in as my healer, but I'll be honest, right now I am not as happy with that choice, and I think I should either pick between Elhain or Sniper. And due to level, I think I'll pull her. Let's see what happens if we go in with Gear Grinder and then we add Shield Guard. Now, I can move around for this aura because we're looking here. Ally HP in all battles will increase by 15%. And then Gear Grinder is better in Faction Crypt. So we're going to go with this rotation. Probably does a little bit better. And we're going to do this order. So we're at 31K. Let's see how we end up doing. Now, let's talk about getting stuck as these guys kind of walk through, because I'll also take Marquez and put her in Diabolus, and put her in at a little lower level because I haven't gotten her beyond 3-star just yet. This is one of the areas, even in normal mode, that I struggle with. Round 1 and 2 were not my issue. Round 3 has definitely been an issue for me. When we're looking at the dragon, and if you've already made it through normal, this is probably one of the areas that, stuck with you when you really felt like, what else can I do? And I had to come out, grow champions, and go back in. So he does have acid burn, attacks all enemies, has a 20% chance of placing that 5% poison debuff for 2 turns. This is a time when having, for example, a Kale on your team, or I'm even thinking about putting in Wervenbane, because maybe that will make a bit of a difference. But if you notice, even with Gear Grinder, has a support ability, but my other champions don't necessarily need it. They're doing a little bit better, but you're going to notice something else here. Reincarnate removes 3 random debuffs from this champion, and this is what can make this a little bit difficult. When this enemy adds in that continuous heal and unkillable, and you'll notice that Gear Grinder is already down, it becomes a constant attack. So the further we go in, the more we're going to notice that those attacks from the dragon are coming back to back to back. Here we go. Nice little unkillable there. We start hitting. That damage hit was really good. I'm really hoping, Shield Guard will make it in, because this is about where I've been able to get this get this enemy. And then all of a sudden we are stalemating. And if you notice, the dragon starts going back to back to back. So this is where that passive comes in. Vengeance, counter attacks when attacked. And that's going to be a big one. The other one is the almighty immunity that we see on several of our bosses with stun, freeze, sleep, provoke, blocks, active and passive skills, fear, true fear, and petrification. Even in my early game on my personal account, this is one of the battles that I first won by the skin of my teeth. But I get to this point and you'll notice we're about a third of the way from there, and boom, my champions are down. So got a little defeat. These guys are maxed out. Let's see. Sometimes I will go back in and I will run the same battle with a different set of champions, and how they are responding is going to be a big one for me. If I'm looking at my options, let's see. Oh, I am very tempted, very, very, very tempted. I'm a little nervous to go without a support champion on this one, but I want to see what Wervenbane would kind of do in this situation. And so we're going to go in here and see how far we get. Remember the first time, that first and second wave were pretty simple, straightforward. Now, I can remember a time when getting past this second round took almost all of my enemies out. I was lucky enough to maybe make it, if I did, with even one enemy, but they were maybe at half health. So that became a pretty important moment as well. If I am able to hit with large enough hits with this counterattack, then maybe it'll work good enough for me. But remember that the dragon actually has the ability to take those buffs off of him. And that's going to prove to be our difficult spot. Now, how many times are you guys willing to run a battle and rearrange your team? And after you've done it a few times, what's going to be your next step? I think looking at artifacts may be one. I'm also thinking at this point, it may be time for us to perhaps go into Minotaur's dungeon area and start looking at masteries. So perhaps doing scrolls. Another decision that we've got to make, and our account has definitely made it to this point. It's time for us to 6-star a champion, because at this point, I think it would definitely help us. We could go back to a couple of earlier stages and power up that particular enemy. But right now, we're to a point where we don't have the firepower or the speed needed to overcome these types of enemies. How do you pick? Every couple of weeks, you're going to see this video pop up. That title is going to pop up. That thought is going to pop into your mind. How do you pick, and when is it time to choose? So As I'm thinking about it, I know that I have some better artifacts. I'm thinking that perhaps we could go in and hit the forge. This round allowed us to do a little bit better, but notice the counterattack. And this is where the problem comes in. As she begins to attack, he also has unkillable and vengeance that are on those continuous turns since they are passive. And he's healing with each attack. So unless my Deliana is able to come with a power move of maybe 10 or 12,000 units of damage, not much is going to take place. And right now we're throwing out numbers like 900, 4,000 at the most. So we're at that 4,000 range, and I need a critical hit. And this is where we go down, guys. This is where it happens. Here's another thing. Look at the amount of time. I ran the stage in as little as 30 seconds. I ran the stage, I think, honestly, in about 20 seconds. So to see this turn into a 3-minute battle of them going back and forth, this is kind of where we are. So this is that moment. So let's see. We have some champions in the wind. We have a couple of champions that honestly we could go in and choose at this point to upgrade. So with that with that login, I think we're on day 22 of logging in. We have everything else in place. This could be one of those moments where going in and making changes would be a pretty good thing. Because look, we have a plenty of stuff going on. Guys, ended up. Y'all know this is the free to play account, right? Was going in to purchase a small goodie bag. And if you haven't seen it, I'm pretty sure. Oh, where did you go? Where did you go? I think it's under packs. Maybe under packs. Nope, limited edition. Went in thinking I was on my other account to purchase this one because I was so stuck. And guess what? Purchased it for the wrong account. I was so mad, y'all. So mad. And remember that some of these are timed. So free to play, the entire purpose is to kind of see where we are. So don't hold that one against me. If we make choices, I'm not sure that we're in a position, and we go over to the tavern, to actually make an upgrade. And honestly, with my 5-star champions, we aren't. We need to take one more champion to actually that 5-star level. So where does your play go next? I have Diablos, who I definitely want to bring up and rank up a little bit. We did pull Fencer, who's another one that I kind of want to get a little playtime in with. And then Arcanist is one that we talked about on the last video, who has proven to be pretty interesting. And at this point, we're only able to upgrade Gear Grinder and War Maiden. And I'm thinking, if I have Shield Guard, what's purpose would War Maiden serve? What team would she be placed on? And I'm thinking, once we're able to open things like tag team, when we're going in for those 5 champion battles, it's where I can counterbalance who my hard hitters would be and who they would not. So it's time for us to do a little campaigning. 2 ways to do it. You can go for speed, which is always a good one. And sometimes, guys, I will actually go back to this very first little level and just kind of take my team up to kind of see how they do. So what would happen, since I know that Sniper still needs points, she's not at that 50, I'm tempted to go ahead and put her in that first little slot. Now, you can always move this around after battles. Warping Bane is one that I would like to build the skill level, kind of see where she's at. Fencer is going, sorry, that's not Fencer. Oh, this Arcanist is another one. And then I want to build Diabolus really quickly. So let's see if these ladies are able to keep up and compete. And having those multi-battles each day is really good. I prefer to kind of run my levels to ensure that my team will definitely make progress. They're looking pretty good. And then, of course, you can use that multi-battle to run the level of your choice to gain the equipment that you need. Keeping in mind that anything else that you would like to sell, if you're just doing it for silver, for example, shields will yield you more silver than other artifacts. But for us, we're also probably going to jump a couple of levels with this team in particular. They took them out pretty quickly. There's no shortage of energy for us, so just running through wouldn't be bad either. But making the biggest leap as far as experience, the biggest bang for your buck. And the other thing I'm kind of paying attention to is how well does the team work together? I'm always looking for a good way to mix things up. Do I need to move who's in the second, third, or fourth position? Knowing that I want to keep Sniper in front, knowing that I want to upgrade her, and then also paying attention at the end of this, we're going to look at the amount of damage they're able to do. So this should not give us any issues. These are pretty straightforward. So we can kind of take a look here. Sniper is going to be first in place. Diablos is about 10,000 behind. And then Arcanist and Werven Bane will pull up that back end. And keep in mind, Werven Bane does have that support ability. I want to see this number, of course, as she elevates up. Going back to level 50 can be a big one. So imagine getting your particular champion back to 60. What would that mean after that champion has definitely been maxed out? Sniper's one, I know I want to take the 6 stars. So there definitely will have to be some sacrifices taking place. But the other thing is a lot of the multi-battles between now and probably the end of the month are going to be used to upgrade lower champions so that I'm able to sacrifice them later. Now, remember, if they are sacrifices, if they're going to serve as food, guys, 99.9% of the time, there's no need to put any artifacts on them. Now, every now and then, you're going to run a champion for the purpose of using them as food, but you're going to have to put artifacts on them because you may have to also use them in faction wars. Now, I've had that happen. A faction war will open, and it's the only champion that I happen to have. I've got some couple of artifacts sitting around. Most of us have accumulated quite a few artifacts these days. And so you slap them on, but keep in mind, it's going to cost you silver to take it off unless you're willing to sacrifice those pieces. We are pretty still early game here. We've managed to get really, really lucky as far as champions we've been able to pull, but I'm also very confident that we can go up levels. So let's skip up let's go to the Catacombs. And let's see, we're going to go to level 3 with this one. We'll go in and remove all of my people we had earlier. We went in with Sniper. Boom, boom. And let's just move her here. Her aura is going to be defense and arena, so it wouldn't really matter. We're going to keep her in the same little order that we've been working in. And let's see how we do with level 36. And what I'm going to try to do is go as high a level as possible where this team is still victorious. And then I will set my multi-battles there. So we've actually jumped ahead to areas on the campaign map to kind of see how the team does. Now, you're going to notice that Diablos is going to throw out a little bit more damage this time too. So I'm waiting to kind of see how she does. Taking the advantage of going first, so that increase in speed is definitely a help. And if we take a look, Sniper's at 33,000, Diablos is at 24,000, so that gap is kind of closing in, and the experience points have gone up 500 for XP in this particular battle. I think this team is working pretty well, so let's go up. Let's go up 2 more. Let's go to Felons Gates. Felons Gate can be a really good way for you to kind of test yourself. So we're going to go in with my same girl Sniper. We're going to reassemble this particular team with Arcanist, and then we'll come back to good old Fencer in a little bit. But let's see how they do. This is one of the areas that I normally run campaign with. I like the rewards. I definitely can use them across several champions. And it's also a good area if I know the team can be successful. I'm pretty comfortable running that multi-battle with them. This round 2 can definitely be challenging. When you are first starting out trying to figure out artifacts and figure out champions and positions, you're going to run into sometimes using all of your resources just to get through round 1 and round 2 of the battle, waiting to get to round 3. You finally make it to the boss at the end and you are out of steam. So on this one, notice Diablos is the first one to go down. So it makes me think about her defense for number one. The other thing is she is a lower rank than the other members of this team. So keep in mind that she's only been 3-starred when everyone else is either 4 or a 5. So that's going to make a bit of a difference as well. It looks like we would do pretty well, but woo, sniper just went down. Makes me a little bit nervous, but we may have just found where we should set our multi-battles at. We're going to be victorious here. And with these two ladies in tow, boom, look at the XP difference. So we're up to 3,700. Now let's pay attention to the damage. Werfen Bane did more damage. She didn't die. So that's going to be helpful as well. Diablos went down pretty early, but notice she is still 3-star. And then the goal is to get Werfen Bane, of course, to level 40 so we can take her up. And I want to really see her fit. I'm definitely trying to feel where she's at. Now, look on the defense side. Here's something else I want you to pay attention to. Your champions can serve more than one purpose on a team. I think it's really important to have at least one champion for every team that can revive. In a perfect world, that would definitely be possible. But honestly, even after 50, 60, 70 days of play, sometimes you may be lucky enough to pull one reviving champion. That may be pushing it. We're going to push up another level. Sometimes you don't have a reviving champion. So what are your other options? If you have a champion that definitely has the ability to either increase the speed of attacks of all of their allies or to decrease the amount of damage that allies absorb, that's going to be a way around that. If I have a way to boost the health or the percentage of attacks or defense, all of those are going to come into play as well. So as you're sitting trying to figure out what can I do with this team, guys, if you're stuck in campaign, go to arena. Go through your dungeons. That's something else that I've done. You end up crafting teams sometimes in different dungeons that become your central team that you would have never thought about otherwise. But if I've come to the point where I am just absolutely stuck, then I am 100% going to dive in and start looking at what can I do in order to get us through. And somewhere between dungeons and kind of rethinking yourself or seeing other teams in arena can be the area that's going to be most successful. We're going to finish out this battle. We're still moving a little slow because I promise you at a certain point, if you've made it, for example, to hard mode, if you go back and play normal, guys, you'll run through those battles in 7 seconds or less. So take a look. Sniper is going to be in first place still. Werfen Bane is second. Diablos is third. Arcanist is going to be fourth when it comes to attack. Looking at defense, this is a big one. So across the board, the amount of defense that this team offers is going to be huge as well. And then, of course, you have those two areas of support. I'm going to run this particular team, build them up, and max everyone out. I'm pretty sure you guys are coming to the point where you're maxing up champions because decisions have to be made. You know an event is coming soon. You guys know that there won't be too many weeks where something isn't taking place. Run your dungeons, be active in arena, make sure you are looking at those progress notes and those. Let's take a look. If we come over to news in general. So if you are kind of looking for what's new in Raid, remember that posted earlier today. They're going to have some skins. Tolarian Trials is one of those. I think because we came in so late in the summer overall, not really sure about it, but I've been running through and just kind of working things. If you happen to qualify for a reward, great. If you don't, it's okay. But making sure that you are ready to keep your team growing and moving is going to be the name of the game. Guys, as always, I want to know where you are in your game. Definitely let me know. Are you thinking about keeping some champions, or have you come to a point where you've outgrown those champions? This is Wicked Raider 22. If you stuck around for this long, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification button. We support everyone and hopefully they support us. We do upload Monday through Friday, posting at 7 a.m. And I look forward to seeing and talking to you guys soon. Have a good one.